Peace, peace. You know we don't hold the people. We give it to them right on time. You know how some of these lives, they be having you wait extra long, wasting your time. No, we getting right into it. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to The Truth is Stranger Than Fiction, episode 4. Like all of these episodes, these are like trains of thoughts. Like my mind's never on this particular subject before I dive into it. So I don't claim to be an expert. I just want to connect some dots and bring some realization, if not to you, definitely to myself, and to document these particular channels and how these things tend to coincide with popular culture is why we titled this The Truth is Stranger Than Fiction. So instead of just giving you information, I want to hopefully give you some solutions that you can walk away with this. You can walk away from this video with something tangible that you could A, look into, B, also apply. I'm the Hood Mystic, representing www.hoodmystic.com if you did not know that. But just in case you didn't or you did, just want to make you aware that the information is real, the information is in alignment. So I'm going to just connect the dots. I'm going to weave, I'm going to zig, I'm going to zag, and then I might zig again. And that's kind of going to be the mood of the talk. Peace to all the 5%ers out there. Peace to all the Moors. Peace to all the NOI members and all points in between. All the people who are non-religious, pagan, deeply religious, into church, all is welcome in the Hood Mystic platform. We're just looking at information. Within this conversation, I realized that it possibly could trigger you based upon your upbringing and your knowledge. But what I'm trying to bring is wisdom and understanding. I'm going to try to bring an application to it. So when you look at the world and it's a particular vision and it might not make sense, this conversation, I will hope that certain things can start to make sense, because we're dealing with the premise that you are a magical being, and the only person that knows that is the only person that does not know that may be you or possibly your family. But to tie it in from last episode, the last time we talked, we were talking about auroras and things like that, Maleficent, and HBO has a new series. So imagine me doing this study. If you listen to this on the playback or whatever, if you listen to this whole thing all the way through, and then listen to this particular part, it's going to be crazy to be processing the meaning of head, and head can mean multiple things, to wherever your mind state is at. If your mind's in the gutter, head means one thing. If your mind's in the esoteric or the ancient history or the pagan history, it might be in another place. So that's with all things. It's all a matter of perspective. It's all a matter of trajectory. And with this particular slide or particular website, I want to reference HBO's new show, His Dark Materials, where they deal with the soul. And in this particular universe, the soul is an animal. So everybody has a soul, and it's depicted as an animal, and this is real deep science based on psychology, Jung, the anima, and the animus, because the male characters, the voice of your soul has a female voice, and then the female characters have the voice of a male character. So it all plays into the psychology or the ideal partner that we are built or born with, and this all comes from the soul. So there's a remedy in this, whether you're in a relationship or single. Spirituality is an individual sport at the end of the day. So when it comes to Tantra, when it comes to the secrets of love and magic, one does not necessarily need a partner. So this conversation could be for you and your boo, or it could be for you sitting at the crib by yourself. All you got to do is wait for your mom to go. We zigging, we zagging. I know you ain't, everybody don't live with their moms. Everybody got a studio apartment. I've been there, but you know, we level up. So back to his dark materials, right? His dark materials. That's going to be a theme of this conversation. Dark, black magic, black art, the Moors, all of these particular things. Is it a skin color? Is it an afro? Is it a kinky hair? You know, is it a two-step rhythm? You know, or is it something much deeper? In this conversation, I would go as far as to say that it's much deeper when it comes to reverence and worship, and a particular God that people can't particularly see. But my thing is, maybe you can't see who God is, and maybe everybody can see who God is, but you don't realize that it is you, because it says in the Holy Bible that ye are God. So this is more of the esoteric understanding. And so this actual slide, we're referencing Carl Jung, the 7 Sermons of the Dead. So what I'm doing in these first chapters is tying in previous concepts and channeling them into this, because we're dealing with string theory where everything is connected. It just may be disconnected, you know, tied up. And so in unraveling these knots, we are uncovering the archons. And once we uncover the archon, like in Wizard of Oz, when they reveal the mask of Wizard of Oz, you see he has no power, and it is you who have the power. It is you who are the vessel. It is you who are the channel for the divine. And if this is an understanding that you have and you inundate yourself with this, you're allowed to move forward unobstructedly. You know, the themes with these, you know, the truth is stranger than the fiction, because if you were to watch movies, one would to think that the melanated man and woman is a dunce or comedy or a sex symbol. We are all of that, but that is stereotyping, and stereotyping is a form of ritual. That is a form of subduing and locking down your energy. No matter what you're doing in your personal life, the world is going to look at people that are comedians or particular rappers who don't, you know, wake up every morning, get your kids dressed and stuff like that, you know, and imagine that this is how you live. So in understanding how people actually view the American melanated man and woman is quite a phenomenon, as opposed to different places. You know, you never hear about people going crazy about Tunisian pop stars, or, you know, even though there are, you know, historical pop stars all over the planet, there's something a little different about the energy that surfaces in this continental 50 states. And as we discuss this truth is stranger than fiction, we're not saying that we are special because we're here. We're saying we're special because of our ancestry and our lineage, how old and ancient it is. And if you could wrap your mind around old blood type and things of that nature, the Atlantean age and the planetary shift and the different ages and the different ice ages, and then human history, and then all of that information existing in this present moment within your body, you know, people cannot reference deities that have been created in the 1800s. People can't even reference deities that have been created in 5000 BC, because your energy is much older than that. And this is what I'm trying to get you guys to understand. So back to this quote. In his 1916 book, The 7 Sermons to the Dead, the heavily demonized Young, whose familiar spirit, Philemon, so the familiar spirit This ties into the book His Dark Materials that's on HBO. Not getting paid to promote it, but you don't have to even watch the show. You could read the wiki about the shit just to understand what they're trying to say without saying. And this is fiction, but we need to understand that the truth is much stranger and the truth is much powerful than fiction. So what they could portray is something that they conceived, but it's probably something that you already actually experienced, but your awareness is kind of off. So this particular science and this particular understanding, I'm trying to cram it into a train of thought. So I don't know how long this video is going to be, but I definitely have a lot of information that I find would be benefit and a lot of dots that I'm seem to be connecting. So whose familiar spirit Philemon appeared to him as an old man with horns of a bull, wings of a fisher, called Abraxas, a god higher than the Christian God. So Abraxas is a god higher than the Christian God that everybody reads about in the Bible. So with this understanding, this is the energy that they kind of practice and work with and deal with in secret. And unbeknownst to people, this is the hidden evil side of the church. And so we'll have to reference the particular history of the church, past, present, and future, and how this ties in with the story, because it's not straightforward. It zigs, it zags, it zigs. Knowledge is just one thing. We could all absorb knowledge, but then it has to be transferred through our ability to extract the wisdom from the knowledge, right? There's a lot of stuff on the internet. Some people don't explore the internet at all, but some people just try to obtain all of this. You've seen those people on Facebook, got all of the books. Nigga, what you got all of the books for? You can't read all of the books, So it's more of really trying to find what resonates with you and really focus in on that. Because within that is the quantum, that is the string theory, that is the rabbit hole. And if you follow your intuition point for point, you'll be able to connect dots yourself. And so this is not the whole puzzle that I'm presenting. This is probably a very small piece of the puzzle, but at least I'm trying to put information out there and bring ancient information back to this present time. Deal with energy that we're not really talking about. So Chrome Dub, the Black Chrome, was a Celtic god of fertility. It is believed that he was represented by the stone pillars that were erected throughout Ireland during prehistoric times. In later times, this black god, we got to really key in on that word black because it's an Arabic word that was a misunderstanding. In my video, Florida, the Seminole Indian video where I'm referencing the Seminole Indians, turns out it's just a transliteration of the word maroon, right? So the Seminole Indians would represent a faction of the Moorish army. And even more so, Florida was ruled by what empire? Spain. Who ruled Spain from 711 to 1492 AD? And let's not call it Spain, let's call it Iberia, so we can get into the full context of ancient history. Because what we have is a world with all these countries, right? And start Googling when these countries were established. 1950, 1960, 1940, right? So if they're talking about Spain, you know what I'm saying? And I'm referencing ancient history. Spain wasn't even a thought, right? It wasn't even a place. So I'm trying to, resurrect those ancient burial grounds of Spain, Ireland, and England. These people vibe with me on a YouTube level, on a hoodmystic.com level. You understand? Because, this is the internet. And this is energy. It's universal. It's electric magnetic along the ley line. So I'm able to connect with people in England, in Ireland, in Africa, based upon my little station in Columbus, Ohio. And it's all the same thing. It's all the same network. And you can tell it's all the same network because here we are having this conversation online. So the word that we want to kind of key in on in this particular aspect of the Chrome dub is the Chrome dub. We want to key in on dub, key in on pagan. That's a major word right there, pagan, because pagan is an actual person. It's an actual lineage. It's an actual surname. It represents an actual person that walked the earth, right? It's not this metaphysical, esoteric, mumbo jumbo, join my class, come to my lecture, join my workshop type of thing. Pagan is an actual ancestral lineage, right? Pagan is a bloodline, right? Okay? Pagan is a bloodline. Especially the black ones were suppressed, and associated with the devil, okay? Associated with the devil, and it's okay because we got solutions. For lack of knowledge is for why my people suffer. See, the solutions that I got for you is stuff that you already been doing, right? What I'm about to say, you already do it. But I'm just trying to change your perspective on what you already do and rise you above the mind control, right? Because if I can, it ain't enough time in the day for me to align this information with everything that I see. I can break down every goddamn Indiana Jones movie related to this information, but I don't got enough time, and it ain't enough, it ain't financially, but if you want me to come to your town and do a lecture and break down Indiana Jones and the Knight Templar and the population of America, because we ain't talking about Tunisia Jones, we ain't talking about the Canary Island Jones, we ain't talking about Mozambique Jones, we talking about Indiana Jones, okay? We talking about a particular landmass, we're talking about Jones, how many Jones you know, okay? Case closed, all right? So the Africa resource, I like this site. I never heard anything bad about it. The information always, it always makes sense, but, it's not talked about in the movies, right? It's hella movies that inundate the slave reality of the melanated man and woman. It's hella movies that inundate the criminal, we get into the TV tropes later. We get into the stereotypes later. We get into the rituals later. But let's talk about before we were stereotyped. Let's talk about before we was ritualized. Let's talk about what it meant to be black before, 1776. Okay? Because I don't know why there's a particular limit to what we research when referencing melanated history, as if there's some particular cap. The oldest bloodline in the whole entire planet, we tend to only want to talk about stuff that happened 300 years ago. That don't really resonate to my actual spirit and soul. My spirit and soul says there is something much deeper. And as I deal with my ancestors, as I deal with my fathers, my dad's name is Kenneth, So beyond my father and my grandfather and my great-grandfather, I also have a mother and a grandmother and a great-grandmother and a great-great-grandmother that I was grateful to spend time with and to talk about her life, So when referencing particular histories, this conversation ain't for everybody. The concept of noble might not be a part of your scheme of thought, so that's why this information don't particularly resonate with you. So I'm not trying to move you over to change how you self-identify, because self-identify is a privilege that I would hope that I wouldn't allow nobody to take from me. So I allow that same space and respect for you to do that as well. Because when it comes to this history, when it comes to the destruction of bloodlines through drugs, lack of information, suppression, ignorance, just the unimportance of ancestral lineages. And it might not be for your family, but for my family and some people that made bad decisions. But there's also keepers that I'm so grateful for, that I'm able to have this connection and understanding, because me as an individual represents a history, and you as an individual represents a history. You have to represent a history. You have to represent a lineage. You have to come from somewhere. You have to come from somewhere deeper than what they're going to tell you. And if they're going to tell you, they're going to mythologize it. They're going to throw some elves in that shit. They're going to throw some fairies on there. They're going to make you think that it's for children. They're gonna do so much to get you out of your history. They're gonna do so much to get you to understand that you're not noble. That, I sound like a crazy person on YouTube, but we're moving on. This page is so we're referencing King Dub Mac Malkalum 962 to 967. If we just do a quick Google on his name, just so we can get the etymology of his name, so we can understand the actual first king of Scotland. So we know who the last king of Scotland is, Mr. Forrest Whitaker, but we know who the first king of Scotland is, Dub Mac Mill Colum Duff Den the Vehement Niger the Black. You can do your ebonics on that if you want. I know you did it in your head. Okay. Same thing. But we here now. So, the Silurians of Spain. The Silurians are very important because this is the root to the Knights Templar. And the Silurians, in referencing them, they have a particular phenotype, ethnic description. Okay. But even more so, they have a personality description in the history books. One of the bravest of the ancient British nations, and defended their country and their liberty against the Romans with the most heroic fortitude. And I want us to keep that in mind, because we got to always reference that they were one of the bravest of the ancient British nations and defended their country and their liberty with the most heroic fortitude. All of this is not conjecture, man. These is actual understandings of how fierce or how brave these men were, how outstanding. I'm pretty sure you have to add all those words up and put in the comment the word that, you got brave, you got ancient, you got fierce, you got heroic, for freedom and liberty for all against an invading force. Okay. The swarthy means, let's just go there. I don't want to say what it means. I want you to use your mind. I want you to use your eyes. So we're all on the same page. Swarthy means, when you look at me, my skin is rather dark. Okay. I have dark skin. The swarthy complexion of the Silures and their hair, which is generally curled. My hair is curly too. This is ancient though. But you got to understand, this is not talked about in history class. They going to talk about how can we ascertain that this is not important to our self-development, but the transatlantic slave trade is the vital point to our spiritual understanding of all intellectual, heart, heroic bravery to understand and correct probably a story that never happened. You answer that for 5,000, Jim. If you can answer that, you're going to try to solve a problem that probably didn't happen. Because dark-skinned people existed all over the planet since the planet was popping out people out the vagina. First person that came out of a vagina was dark-skinned. And then they get lighter over time. It's genetics. It's not anything to be angry about or mad about. It's just life. So, in referencing history, I'm just saying our history is much vaster than what mainstream media likes to put out. But then they will put it out in the fairy tales, in the movies, in the, stuff that's not real, stuff that you could easily throw off. And so we have King Arthur and his knights. We're not going to spend a lot of time here. Just want to bring this to our realization. Arthur was a prince of the tribe of Britons called Silures. So you ever wonder why you don't never see King Arthur? It's real vague, it's real mythological, it's real mystical, one would say. And then of course the reenactments of the King Arthur of the Round Table is not an actual depiction of the actual people that were existed there. It's just an interpretation based upon the dominant perspective. This is called Greco or Roman interpretatio. It is the rule of, when in Rome, one must do as the Romans, but it's Friday night, it's a holy day, so Islam, we here having this conversation, and not to offend anybody, right? We're just here having a conversation, referencing stuff that's already on the internet. So, I thought this was funny, and I might be the only one that think this is funny, but we have Martin Lawrence, who on his show, his name was Martin Payne, right? But he also had a co-star named Carl Anthony Payne as well. I think his name was Cole on the show, if I'm not mistaken. So they didn't even change. Usually when people have a show, they change their first name. It's kind of but they kept their real names, but changed their last name. But, Martin changed his last name to Carl Anthony's last name. So that whole structuring, pretty sure it wasn't a coincidence, because that was probably one of the most dominant shows on TV. Or that is, when you think 90s and you think our culture, you got to think Martin amongst the host of other things, but Martin got to be in your top 10 of iconic things of the 90s. But even deeper than that, Martin Lawrence played a character called Jamal, which is an Arabic name, and he was in The Black Knight. The Black Knight. And throughout that movie, he was referenced to as a Moor. Okay? I just thought that was interesting. And Martin Payne, we're still here. Okay, we're here now. We're here. From pagan to Payne. I told you, remember pagan, if we was referencing earlier, we started this thing out when we was referencing the Chrome Dub. God of fertility. Getting it on. Fertility. Okay. It's Friday night. You just got paid. You feel me? If you ain't got nobody to love on, I know somebody perfect that you can love on. Your damn self. Fertility. You feel me? We gonna talk about the bank. Man, I got so much to talk about, man. I don't want to even waste your time, but pagan, right? Pagan to Payne. So Marty Payne, the Black Knight, these people got this thing well organized, but once you start to see their game, you'll start to unfold this stuff, and this your first time vibing with me, it might sound like somewhat confusing, somewhat perplexing, somewhat uninteresting, but we pushing forward. In about 1000 AD in southern France, there were people called Moors, who were Muslims who came up from Algeria through Spain. I like this approach because I could sit here and be on video and say the same exact thing and be met with so much backlash, but believe this or not, this is just a reference. Who were Muslims who came up from Algeria through Spain. The Paine family line converted to Christianity, but after that, they were still called pagan. So we're dealing with a family, we're dealing with a bloodline, we're dealing with an ancestry that, you know, it's some esoteric mumbo jumbo. If you talk about, you know, the witchcraft society or the Wiccans, you know, they will reference, is everything okay? They would reference the pagans as some weird cultic experience that, you know, it's very mystical, right? But here we have an actual bloodline. How you know that these people ain't praying to Martin Payne himself? Yeah, your ass doing rituals to Martin. You know what I'm saying? Thinking that you deep, referencing yourself as a pagan, right? It's an actual bloodline, okay? Which is kind of ironic since Muslims aren't pagan. In about 1080, there was a guy named, so these names get to be very important, Tabard de Pagan, the Moor of Gardil, who had a son named Tabard de Pagan. I guess he got tired of being called a pagan, but Tabard de Pagan grew up and became known as the Pagan of Doomsday. The coolest title ever. I don't know what the story is behind that, but I'll keep looking. I was looking, can't find too much information about the Pagan of Doomsday, but I know y'all watch a lot of TV and know a lot of anime. If you reference the Pagan of Doomsday, let them know that the Hood Mystic is looking for him, okay? Anyway, Tabard de Pagan had a son named Hugh de Pagan, who has his own Wikipedia page. Hugh de Pagan was co-founder and first Grand Master of the Knights Templar. So what can you deduce from this statement? If my daddy a Moor and my granddaddy a Moor, and I'm all about this ain't deadbeat baby daddy. This ain't them times. Okay, I'm gonna get into why this ain't them times, you know. But the Grand Master of the Knights Templar, Indiana Jones in the Last Crusade, he chose poorly. That was one of the key little slogans that he said in that movie. He chose poorly. National Treasure, the Da Vinci Code, those Knights Templar. So keep in mind the Knights Templar. This ain't going to be a deep dive in the Knights Templar, but I'm going to just kind of deal with some surface information because we're not trying to talk about the Knights Templar today. We're talking about Baphomet. We're talking about the energy that they use to be inventors. You understand? The inventors of the modern banking system that got you going so crazy. You're not even understanding the roots or the understanding of banking. You just think that you got to hit the lottery or something, but we'll get into the roots of it. So eventually along the way, Payne got the name changed to Marty Payne. What's up? What's up? What's up? You feel me? Like that's basically what it is, and it might be too complex for you to wrap your mind around it, or maybe too simple for you to wrap your mind around it. You gonna tell me that people put out a better show than Martin Lawrence? That's up for debate and opinion, but man, that's definitely a debate that we gonna have. You're not just gonna dog walk me on that, you know. We gonna talk about, we gonna have to have some detailed ratings, and we gonna have to talk about you showing me a better show than Martin. You feel me? Like, come on now. So, the Baltimore of Godard de Pain Excuse my butchering of the French. You feel me? I never been there. So with this particular page, I'm just trying to establish that the creation of the Knights Templar comes from a particular stock of Moorish bloodline. And it's not so hard to believe, it's not so far-fetched, because we're dealing with Arabia, we're dealing with Jerusalem, and we're dealing in it in like the 10th century, the 11th century. So you know that area gotta be black. I'm black, yo. I'm blickety black, black, black. You know what I'm saying? They gotta be dark as hell around this time, just based on the idea of you get darker and then you get lighter, based upon particular genetics and particular spaces and time. So, you know, our understanding of the world now, based upon things being particularly whitewashed, and this is just a fact, if things are getting whitewashed, means that if I'm wiping something or changing something from white, that means it's getting lighter, meaning that before it was actually lighter, it was dark. You don't whitewash stuff that's already light or white. Maybe you darken it, but no need to whitewash it. So that's that. So with this particular practice, with this particular understanding, we're dealing with the bank. So talking about your sex life, you feel me? You can have a poor sex life, or you can have a rich sex life. All about energy and creativity and giving and receiving. And sometimes you can't do that with people because people too selfish, people too judgmental. But if you can't do that with yourself, if you can't have a sexual tantric relationship with yourself, how do you expect to have it with somebody else? And trust me, this is for the adults. Okay. I'm 35 years old. I'm just now coming into this understanding. You could be younger than me and already ready for this conversation, but when I was your age, and I'm gonna use an Indiana Jones reference, I was under the black sleep. Okay, all I thought about was how it was gonna go down. My judgment wasn't off. I wasn't saying no, you know. And not to say that I have to say no, but in the realms of Tantra, if you're always saying yes, then try to say no. If you always saying no, then try to say yes. We're trying to get you out of the same shit, the same information that's not helping you. So make sex an event. And this ties into the bank. The poor knights of the temple of the king of Solomon. Now, they are called the poor knights of the temple of the king of Solomon, but that's a irony, because they had more money than most kingdoms and most kings and queens of the time. The reason why they were exorcised or deemed as heretics is because they had so much money, and the king and King Philip, he owed them money. And so they were military savvy, because we're dealing with the Silurians. We're dealing with the ancient Europeans, the ancient Britons, the ancient Romans, right? It's not the stuff that you see on the statues and the paintings, because those statues and paintings, my G, were crafted in the from 1500 to the 1700s. So your view of the ancient world is not that of actual factual, and there's a problem with that. There's a big problem with that, because everybody is so deep on YouTube talking about what it means to be black and what black people should do. But they're not even factoring this information in, not with their heart. Maybe as knowledge, maybe they have it as knowledge, but they haven't learned to zig, to zag, to zig, to zag. You feel me? They haven't learned to apply this. They haven't learned to become invincible. They haven't learned to flip their perception. They haven't learned to get out of the upside down and come to the down. I don't even know what it's called. It probably ain't got nothing to do with polarity and duality. You understand? Polarity and duality and black and white, those are prison systems. Okay. That we all sign up for. We all buy into. So all that to say, you can call them poor, but they weren't really poor. What they actually did, since they were so heroic, since they were so fierce, since they were so brave, they ushered. So once the Christians took over Jerusalem around 1070 AD, in order for a Christian to pay respects to the actual landmark called the Temple of Jerusalem, so they say, this is all hearsay, history, take it with a grain of salt, but this is the mythology, or this is the story. They would usher the Christians from, say, Rome to where the temple is and somewhere in Arabia. But in between Rome and Arabia, it's the thuggies, another Indiana Jones reference, right? The thuggies, they not gonna let you you just not gonna make it. You need an escort, and for that, you're gonna pay for the Knights Templar, and you know your currency might be 58 donkeys. And along your journey, because you had a prosperous year and you want to give thanks to God, so you would go to the Temple of Solomon. You would, you know what I'm saying, need to, you know how it is when you go on the trip. You need to take some bread with you. Gotta stop at the gas station. Gotta get some snacks, especially if you bring your kids. But the problem was, my money is my donkeys, right? So what they did is, give me all your donkeys, or however many donkeys you want to take on this trip, and we'll give you a check. And that was the literal word, check. So this check would allow them throughout their trip with the Knights Templar, because they see they with the OG. You know, they got a couple OGs with them, so yeah, they money good. How much is on your slip? Okay. All right, we're going to take this off your slip. And so by the time you get to your destination and back, you understand, you just tally up. I turned in 5 donkeys, I spent 3, give me my 2 back, you know. And so this was the origins of the banking system. But the esoteric side to this, the spiritual side to this, and can be referenced, not on the internet, you're going to have to buy a book. It's by Tracy Twyman, The Ancient Mysteries of Baphomet Revealed, or something to that effect. Just Google Tracy Twyman, we on the internet. Let's get it in. Hold on. Is this sounding all right?
Yeah.
Just to bring reference to the actual book. Okay. So it can't be revealed. I got the PDF on there. Yeah, I couldn't even get the free PDF. I was tight. I had to get the real thing. That's okay. This book is powerful. The Baphomet, the Temple Mystery Unveiled. And she actually inspired this whole video. I was listening to sis earlier this summer when I was just, you know, listening to various podcasts on particular things or whatever. I came across her information. I was just absorbing everything she had to talk about, because whatever she had to talk about, it was so interesting at the time. And you know, it's a lot of stuff that goes on. I didn't listen to her for about a couple months. And then I heard that she transitioned and she passed away. So in that spirit, I began to listen to her old podcast. And I just got into this. I got into her old podcast and stuff. And then so I was just like, man, it's time for me to speak about this and do this study and then present something to the information in reference to the Baphomet that was probably different from the actual conversation that everybody's having. So I know within this conversation, it's going to challenge you. The first thing that you're going to say is, well, nah, brother, it didn't happen like that. But you got to understand that I'm zigging and my zagging and I'm zigging and I'm zagging. So my zigzag zig is going to be mad different from your zigzag zig. You feel me? We all got knowledge, but we got different wisdoms. We got different moms. We got different wombs. And then we got different applications. So respect my zig, respect my zag, respect my zig, and I'll respect yours. You feel me? And it's just all information. It's all books anyway. It's all knowledge. We all gonna understand and apply it differently. Word is born, son. Might as well say this before I go any further. Wu-Tang Clan is for the children. Wu-Tang Clan is nothing to fuck with. I was doing my zigzag zig, and RZA on the season finale, I was watching that. He actually spit that in a verse. I was just like, yo, zigzag zig, son. You feel me? Like, we zigging out here, bro. We zigging, we zagging, and maybe you don't understand. Maybe you think you gonna get to where you getting on the straight and narrow. You think that you gonna work 2 jobs, save your money, and you gonna make it. You got no zig, you got no zag, you going straight. You feel me? Oh man, you playing right into their plans, baby. You playing right into their hands. You not getting it, man. You gotta be zigzag Ziggler out here. You gotta figure out what knowledge you gonna observe, how you gonna apply it. Can't be going out here like the magical Negro. So I'm referencing this because we're dealing with stereotyping. You know how you raise your son. You ain't raise him to be no slouch. You want the best for your children. I think all parents do. But society and the pressures of peers, your wants and needs and desires for your children come second or third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, right? By the time you know you done hit so many losses, you stop caring about making your parents happy. You know, you just like, man, I got a long way to go. Look, mom, dad, I'm gonna start trying to make myself happy because living up to y'all standards ain't gonna work. So this is all stereotyping, ritualizing this energy. I just want to bring this to the awareness. When you're watching TV, you're going to see this in all movies, whether it's The Green Mile, The Legend of Bagger Vance, Pure Heart, 8 Hearts, something Hearts with Will Smith, Michael B. Jordan. He is Magic Negro #1. You feel me? So many. But we talking about ritualization. We're talking about stereotypes, because this is what they're doing to the gods now. They're caricaturizing our energy, and we're sitting there observing the gods, and we're being entertained. We're not receiving no knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. And this is why Wu-Tang is so powerful. This is why Wu-Tang will, with all these rappers crumble and there ain't nothing else to listen to in the universe, you're gonna find a goddamn purple tape somewhere and plop that in. You're gonna find a tape player. You're gonna be in the middle of the universe and, you know, the whole world exploded, but you're gonna find a Wu-Tang tape and a tape deck to throw that thing into, because we're dealing with the primal forces of the universe. Hey son, I keep playing it to Norbit. You understand? You gotta watch episode 10. The lady's explaining to her what this music actually is. See, you might not like Wu-Tang because it's not your vibe. I feel you. I'm the same way. I don't like Wu-Tang's music or their beats. But you gotta understand, man, Wu-Tang is for the children. They bring in primal energy. They're bringing the energy of the 5%ers, the nation of gods and earth, on beats. So it's meditation at the end of the day. It's spiritual wisdom, deep spiritual wisdom. That's not for the purpose of elevating anybody else but yourself. And they did it right. You watch the show, that show, it opens your mind. Like, it opens your mind. It helps you understand, like, what it means to have adversity. It was dope about it. Guess where they going? Guess where the RZA and everybody's going at the end of season 1? They on the bus. Guess where they going? They coming to Ohio. You feel me? I didn't even know, like, why would Ohio come up? But I guess that was part of their story. They came and got some of this nation mound builder energy, and once they tapped into this mound builder energy, the rest is history, because at the end of season 1, they're not even successful yet. So it's all tying into, this primal energy, and how all of these things tie in together. Another Wu-Tang reference while we're here and we're talking about TV tropes now. Y'all know I did episode 2, Dr. Manhattan with ODB, and referencing the Watchmen. And so just for shits and giggles, they kicked off episode 4. Now, they didn't do an ODB song, but they did do the ODB sample of the Ghetto Superstar joint with Maya and Praz. If you listen to that, you can be like, yo, that's the same sample. That's the same, that's an ODB classic. So, too many connections, not enough time, man. So hopefully I'm gonna probably try to speed up because, yeah. So the right to bear arms, a lot of people think is about guns, but the right to bear arms is not about guns. It's the right to ancestry. It's the right to lineage. As you got the right to speak, and then you got the right to be armed with your ancestry and your lineage. And the main way that they kept track of ancestries and lineages, and this was before DNA tests, they went from coats of arms to paper bags to DNA tests. Not making sense. So, yeah, coat of arms, we're just going to put that out there, and then we're going to move forward and get more into the Baphomet Head and the coat of arms and how these things are connected. The real truth behind the coat of arms and the family crest. I just want to point out some things. Other times he was allowed to pass it down to his descendants, and it became the family coat of arms. As time went on, some nations and even corporations adopted their own coat of arms. Cool. Historically speaking, a coat of arms is a design on the shield of a medieval knight. So, we all know who the first knight was. You understand when they reference knight, they're talking about the darkness, they're talking about the ancestral energy that has propelled them into the future, propelled them, protected them, guided them home, took them to see the Temple of Solomon, tapped into that native energy, brought them all the way back home, protected them from scary ass Muslims. Oh my God, those Muslims are so scary. You have no idea how scary the damn Muslim is. So the ability to exit out of Europe is all given thanks to these knights, and because of that, their family and ancestral lineages are allowed to live within ancestral inheritance, wealth, peace, understanding of their ancient ancestral lineage, and the world is a peaceful, happy, blissful place because the lineages are still intact. The end. Like, so the heads of humans and other animals were frequently occurring charges in heraldry. So Here we go. We got heads of humans, we got the coat of arms, and we have the knights, and we have the Knights Templars. And these heads of humans are sometimes blazoned simply as a man's head, but far more frequently described in greater detail, either characteristic of a particular race or nationality, such as Moors heads, Saxon heads, Egyptian heads, or Turks heads. So, like the head of Moses, the head of St. John the Baptist, they said Jesus actually was a demon who walked around with a head that conjured up stuff because he had the head of St. John the Baptist. That's what they say. That's the more esoteric, deeper, darker side. You probably ain't gonna find that part in the Bible. So, why does it matter? Why does it matter now that these heads were on all of these coats of arms of these black men and women? Because all of these heads represent the Baphomet. These heads represent the lineage of your history. The actual start is the pagan understanding. And the pagan understanding is very dark, very ancient, and very unknown, mystical. The use of family and institutional crests at this time most likely reflected the spread of the imagery of the, I'm not going to try, Hohenstaufen emperors, as in Saint Maurice and the Black Magus, in which black figures stood in for the universalist pretensions of the church and the empire. From the early 15th century, in the context of increasing conflicts against Muslims in the Iberian, Spain, Balkan, Anatolian peninsulas, in the context of European maritime exploration and participation in global trade, including in African slaves, black figures began to take on a more fantastical and exotic and degrading features. They appeared as monsters, conquered enemies, noble savages. Noble, peace noble. Peace noble. Nothing savage about you, noble. You more noble than you even understand. There's a lot of information on this page, so I'm not even going to attempt to read. I'm just going to show just the Moors heads for the people who probably never even seen these or don't understand their deeper meaning. So, noble, high rank or birth means maybe she's born with it. Maybe you're noble. You know what I'm saying? No Maybelline, no makeup. No, we talking about your nobility. Something that is knowable, but even if you don't know it, you come to know. You come to know your ancient history. You come to know your ancestry. And there is no person that does not have a particular ancestry that is not vast and beautiful, because that's what ancestry is. It's ancient, it's old. You know, unless you're an alien and you're not really from here. But that's another story. Just want to say Islam to all the Moors. You know, it is holy day, so peace, Islam to all the nobles out there. Understand, this is Friday. I got this channel like 12 a.m. I started writing about this, and all day, this has been my day, actually. Went to sleep about like 4, woke up at 7. I was back at it. So, the Knights Templar. Okay. The truth is stranger than fiction. This theory about how us connects to get out will blow your mind. My mind was blown when I read this. So we all watched Get Out, we've all watched Us. But did you know that Jordan Peele, the man who wrote it, named this secret organization? He stated that the Armitage family belonged to an order descended from the Knights Templar, a 12th century military order that fought in the Crusades. The order has long been rumored to have sought after the Holy Grail, and this is what Peel says is their main goal in Get Out, to obtain the Holy Grail's power of immortality. So, you have a whole movie, 2 movies, and the greatest thing about these movies and the lead characters and the heroes of it is that they're black people, but these black people, unbeknownst to them, are getting experimented on. Even more so, they might have a double or clone version of them based upon an understanding of an invading people who don't have their same energy, an archonic force that just wants to use them for their energy. And this is what these movies are talking about, but I'm just like, Jordan Peele is not that creative, right? He's not that creative to just reference the Knights Templar, and you literally, you got to go to that scene and Get Out where he's walking through the basement and he's sitting in that chair and they're doing all them tests. That's what he's referencing in the Knights Templar, but you got to understand that the original Knights Templars were wiped off the face of the existence by the Roman Catholic Church. The Knights Templar that exist now are a part of a branch of Freemasonry that are not direct descendants, or not direct even if they are, they're not, right? Because if it was so, then there would be a level of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that, hasn't been hidden from us, right? Our history shouldn't be so hard to find, is all. So here we're dealing with the Baphomet. Here we're dealing with the Black Head. Here we're dealing with the mystery within the mystery, okay? So we have to start here. Because Baphomet is not Muhammad. There is no connections to Muhammad, but could well be a corruption of the Arabic Baphomet, which means the father of understanding. In Arabic, the father is taken to mean the source, chief, seat of, which is another word for Kanye, which we talked about in that Kanye Joker episode 1. So this is so Kanye is another meaning for Baphomet. That's scary. In Sufi terminology, Ras El Famet, the head of knowledge, means the mentation of man after undergoing refinement, the transmuted of consciousness. So this is wisdom. This is your zag. Your zig or your zag. Make sure you're doing both, because you never know. You got to zig and zag. And even if you zig and zag and you're not all the way comfortable with your zig and zag, you got to zig again. You feel me? You got to zigzag, zigzag, zig sometimes. Sometimes your whole day, you might be zigging, zagging. You feel me? Because this is knowledge and understanding. This is an Arabic term, FHM, feachum, and fetchum. I think that's a caricature, as I'm saying it, like fetchum, fetch it, or something like that. Stephen fetch it. I don't know. I don't even know what that is, but it feels like a caricature. Should I look it up? I think I should look it up. It might be nothing. It might be everything. Step and fetch it. Stephen Fetchit was an American vaudeville comedian and film actor of Jamaican and Bahamian descent, considered to be the first black actor to have a successful film career. That's love right there. That's love. That's knowledge. That's wisdom. That's understanding. That's zigging. That's zagging. Feach 'em, fetch 'em. Okay. These are 2 words of the Arabic, which mean knowledge, wisdom, understanding, but it also could mean black or Coleman. But it don't mean black or Coleman. It's just 2 closely related words. Like terminology, right? You can have a whole terminology in your house that, like, yo, that dress is bad, son. Like, you killing it in that dress. And then if you a person who don't understand what I just said, they could just interrupt like, why did you just disrespect her dress like that? And who is she going to kill with that dress? Like, do it emit poison? Like, who, like, do she got bullied? Like, do it got guns on it or something? Like, how is she killing shit in that dress? Because language is like that. You can't always assume that people understand what you're saying when you say it. That's why you got to zigzag and zig, and you got to be on your own zigzag zig. You feel me? You can't be on my zigzag zig, because my zigzag zig is crazy. You couldn't catch up, and I wouldn't even want to be catching up to yours either. I trust that you got your own. I trust that you got your own knowledge. You got your own understanding, because these are the roots of the Baphomet. Peace to Step and Fetch It. I'm about to watch some videos as tap in. Coming through. So why can't we understand that black means wisdom? Hold on. I gotta show you something. The Baphomet is none other than the symbol of the completed man. The Baphomet is none other than the symbol of the completed man. It ain't no goat with one hand in the air, one hand down. It ain't nothing like that. That picture came in 1860. We talking about the 10th century, 11th century. No mention of a goat. Hell, it ain't even no mention of the damn Baphomet. That don't, you have to really, there's no source material, and I've looked. But what there is an understanding of knowledge and understanding. There's an understanding of astrology, magic. Hell, the three magi, the three wise men. We dealing with the roots of magic. We dealing with the roots of secret society, fraternities, and things of that nature. Theater, comedy, art, poetry, music. Organizing it, functioning it throughout society. Becoming an artist, being paid for your art, being a creator based upon knowledge and wisdom. This is the roots. So it ain't nothing to do with no damn goat. The black head, the Negro head, the Turk's head, which appears in heraldry, coat of arms, okay? And in the English country in signs is a crusader substitute word, or in brackets, a cant word for this kind of knowledge. Well, why can't we understand what you're talking about, sir? What is a cant word? A cant is a cryptolect, argot, anti-language, or secret language. It is the jargon of a language of a group, often employed to exclude or mislead the people outside of the group. Each term differs slightly in meaning, and their use is inconsistent. So, I'm zigging, you zagging, we ain't matching up. You think I'm crazy. I'm just letting you know I'm on my zig. You was on your zag. Next time, if we might zig together, we might get on the same path together and develop our own language. Because the way that this thing is set up, there's a lot of can't words, a lot of things that I can't say, right? Secret languages. And that's what the Morris head is. That's what the right to, like, say, so like the freedom of speech, the right to bear arms, your amendment rights based upon legalese might mean something completely different than what you're reading in front of you. And you got to give it space. You got to give it space to understand everything you're reading from every perspective. So I'm going to just tie this in once and for all. So we have the Sufis by Idris Shah. Intro by Robert Graves. This is taken from page 202, 212. And so these are Arabic allegories. Though Friar Bacon has been looked on with awe and suspicion because he studied the black arts, the word black does not signify evil. The word black does not signify evil. The word black does not signify evil. It is a play on two Arabic roots, FHM and FHHM. So let's look at it for ourselves. To understand, to learn, to observe, to comprehend. In other words, to zig, to zag, to zag, to zig. You feel me? Gotta be Zigzag Ziggler out here. Pronounced fetchum or fachum, one of which means black and the other wise. The same play occurs in the arms of Hughes the Pagans of the Pagans. The Pagans, the family tree, or the Pains. Ain't it a show called The Pains? Tyler Perry and them? They know what they be doing. You just don't know what they be doing. I see what y'all doing. Y'all gonna have to cut me a check. Okay. Who founded the Order of the Knights Templars? Namely 3 Saracen heads sable, blazing as if caught up in battle, but really denoting heads of wisdom. So, I got a skull, right? It's not a real skull. It's like made from ceramic or something. It's gold. So, I'm walking around with my skull, and I light some candles around my skull, and I start talking to my skull or whatever. If a person not really into the knowledge and into, my particular form of religious practice, their mind's gonna be blown. And, say for instance, I take some LSD, take some psychotropic drugs, and I'm doing the ritual with a damn skull. Of course the skull is gonna talk to me and give me secrets and stuff. That's all that was happening. And when it came to the coat of arms, these were like DNA tests. How do I know you say who you are? Well, here goes my coat of arms, and you can see this before I come through. Like, you just see it on me. Oh shoot, that's the Moore clan. I ain't gonna mess with them. I'm gonna see if I can get $5 or if I can join. You feel me? This is what the coat of arms was for. It ain't about A, cutting off somebody's head, B, an actual talking head, or C, some weird mystical tradition that you guys getting caught up in. It was a simple family tradition, a family ancestral line, and the actual talking head was the same way you would take some shrooms right now. Your skull be talking to you tonight. You take enough shrooms, okay? Let's not kid ourselves. Let's not kid ourselves. Okay? Les Families Chevrolet de Lune. There are 2 stories that claim that French was just horrible. I'm so sorry I've never been to France. Somebody gotta fly me out there so I can I gotta get my whole accent together. I'd be something else though if I got me a French accent though. Y'all couldn't stop me if I got a French accent. I'm gonna work on that. There are 2 stories that claim that Hughes' father's nickname was the Moor. The other story is that Hughes de Pagan's nickname was the Moor himself. Count de Pagan, the family's historian, refers to this very early contact with the Spanish Arabs, which produced this unusual surname. Duenu, revered by all Sufis, is referred to having been of Nubian black origin, given a connection with the adoption of black fetchum in knowledge and understanding fetchum by the dervish school of the Coleman, which were associate of the Carbonary. You're gonna have to do your Googles on all of that because we're moving on. No, before we move on, let's just say this. Black is another word for Egypt. So in the show His Dark Materials, which I referenced at the beginning, There's a group of people, guess what they're called? The Egyptians. Okay, black is the Egyptians with no E, just the Egyptians. Black is another word for Egypt, said to be derived from the color of the soil. The black art is thought by many to mean nothing more than the Egyptian art, or the art of understanding, the art of zigzagging and zigging. By a similar process of thought, the black virgins of the Middle Ages could be translated as the wise virgins. The confusion between the black art, the Hermetic art, the Egyptian secrets has appeared and reappeared throughout medieval literature. I'm going to say that part again. The confusion between black art, the Hermetic art, and the Egyptian secrets has appeared and reappeared throughout medieval literature. So the confusion appears and reappears throughout medieval. Sometimes y'all forget, right? For some reason, y'all forget that black means wise, and black means to understand and have wisdom and knowledge and nobility. Sometimes you forget that black means stupid and lazy or something. Like, y'all just forget that shit. But the misunderstanding exists only because the ignorance of the similarity of black and wise in Arabic by foreigners. So there is ignorance of the similarity between black and wise by Arabic by foreigners. So we talked about that. They be just messing up words on purpose and confusing you. So one more time, because this is so important, right? We didn't just wake up one morning and call ourselves black. There's been a long history into the understanding of the word black. I'm sure somebody came to this understanding at a certain point and said, you know what? We gonna leave this part out. we gonna keep this part silent, because we're dealing with root words. We're dealing with the root of language. And the Arabic root words FHHM, Fetchum, and FHM, Feachum, is symbolic of Baphomet, or the black head of wisdom. FHM means to perceive, to understand, therefore relates to the theurgic process of self-becoming through self-deification, how we are becoming gods. In relation to Baphomet, the black or wise head, which described as Shah, or being part of the coat of arms of Hughes de Payens, which translates of the pagans, which had 3 Saracen heads indicating heads of wisdom. So we need to remember how to become gods again and get to it. Get to it. Ain't nothing but to do it. Oh, I'm gonna go through this real quick. 2005, we have a new pope. His name is Pope Benedictine the 16th. And this is his coat of arms. I'm gonna zoom in so we can see. Close this. Close this. So we see his coat of arms that has a Moor's head with the red lips, but it also has a crown. And this ain't 1286. This ain't 1533. This ain't in Germany. This is the actual Pope of 2005 to 2013. But usually when popes quit, or when popes are no longer popes, is because they done kicked the bucket. But not him. My main man said, you know what? I talked to God during a mystical, quote unquote, experience. So I'm a repeat. Benedict says God told him to resign during a mystical experience. Now, a lot of us have mystical experiences without psychotropic drugs. Their existence is mystical. But some of us, man, within these last 2 years, everybody and their mama is talking about how they took ayahuasca, how they did shrooms, how they tried LSD and had this particular mystical experience that have changed their life. Now they're open to astrology, consciousness, and spells on how to get their baby daddy back. But but that's another story, another video. Okay. So he talks to God during this mystical experience, and he says, and God tells him, you know what, this Pope shit that you doing, you know, this highest office in the free world, give it up. Now, that's like working your whole life. Like, imagine that thing that you're working for right now, and you smoke a blunt, and God appears to you and says, you know what? Stop doing that. Would you be strong enough to walk away? It depends on how strong that actual energy speaks to you and how it perceives itself to be God. And so I'm not saying that you have to pop shrooms to have mystical experiences, but I'm saying it helps. So you can actually talk to God, so you can get on your Baphomet shit if you just want to be honest about it. Or you could take everything that you hear literally. We got to continue to get into this. So we just want to establish some things about the Baphomet. See, I've had all of this information about the Baphomet, and I haven't even referenced the goat yet. I don't even know how long I've been talking, but I know for a fact I haven't referenced the goat. So I'm saying that to say you shouldn't either. Right? It's a whole history of a particular energy, and then all of a sudden you see some image, and that's what this image was, and this what they used to worship, the Knights Templar, and there's some picture that was painted in the 1800s. Well, what was the pictures of in the 10th century? There ain't no pictures, my friend. You're gonna have to use your imagination. So why don't y'all ever use your imagination and document what this energy was looking like back then? Because it wasn't like they didn't have no archaeological tests. And when they do, where's the bag lady at? When they do the tests, oh, not her. Should have been more prepared. Maybe the pearl lady. Oh well. But she didn't want to be seen today. But y'all know who I'm talking about. It's this lady. She like, I mean, you could use common sense, or you could wait for the media to verify that black people existed in Europe for the past millions of years, or the past hundreds of thousands, or the past 20,000, or the past 5,000. Or you could say that black people first came to Europe in 1760 when white people brought them there. And I would just say, you're an idiot and you don't study. You don't study. You don't study. But your context of the black experience is just that black people didn't even exist in Great Britain until, you know, slave ships brought them there. Like, how, like, anybody in Europe will look at you like you crazy as shit to even think that, like, what the hell? Do you not know, mate, that the Moors have ruled here since 711 to 1492? They ruled all through Europe. Like, do you not know, mate? In my, like I said, I adapt. Like, I'm a quick learner. I'm a fast study. So a trip to England, I'm telling you, give me a little bit of an English twang, it is over. They'd be like, you from England? Okay. You from England. Alright, so we've established that. Now we're going to depress for a little bit. We're going to show this little quick video. We're going to laugh at this video. We're going to connect some dots, and then we're going to finish it.
Trying to get out because it's trapped in a building, and it's smashing itself against the window harder and harder with the belief the more effort I put in.
Edgy new ad that has Pepsi apologizing right now. Critics call the online commercial for Mountain Dew racist. So Pepsi has pulled the ad, and ABC's Lindsay Davis is here with more on the provocative marketing campaign that pushed the envelope too far. Good morning, Lindsay.
Good morning, George. Not only are they calling it racist, some are actually calling it the most racist commercial ever.
The most racist commercial ever? Hold on.
Calling it the most racist commercial ever. Critics say it portrays racial stereotypes and also makes light of violence toward women. It was all created by a black man who says the storyline is so bizarre it was never meant to be taken seriously.
The premise of these online ads is absurd enough. A crazy goat who becomes obsessed with Mountain Dew. They've gotten 2 million views since March.
That's why I felt like y'all would probably step out or
But this
something.
morning, some are calling this the most racist commercial ever.
It's me. You should have given us some more.
She was
The
scared.
ad features that battered waitress now on crutches being urged to
She
identify a
just wanted
suspect
to
out of a
leave.
lineup of black men.
You better not snitch on a player.
This ad is destructive because it further pushes forward the stereotype of black men as being violent criminals.
The backlash growing so big, PepsiCo just pulled the 60-second spot saying, "We apologize for this video and take full responsibility." The ad
Yeah. Gave my girl's company away. I'm sorry. So, in reference into the understanding that reference goats to human beings or whatever the case may be, rams to human beings, was actually from an actual writer named, what's his name? Levi. I can't pronounce the first name, but magic is the divinity of man conquered by science and union with faith. The true magi are men gods in virtue with their intimate union with the divine principle. So, within all of this, he understands that the true magi or the true understanding are men that are gods, and their understanding and their application can be found in the intimate union with their divine principle. If you are masculine, it's the divine feminine. If you are feminine, it is the divine masculine. And it could be various vessels that this energy is channeled through. So you don't necessarily need to get caught up on that. You just need to understand your energy and how it could be properly complemented. So understand, like, when it comes to evil or what you perceive to be evil or things that you don't agree with or conversations that you ain't really ready for, understand that you've been mind controlled and you've been finessed into being blocked out, because this is how the church feels about how they get down. This is from Eusebius, an old pope or an old historian. It is an act of virtue. It's the highest art to deceive and lie, when by such means the interest of the church might be promoted. So they're well into the business of deception and lying in reference to the church. So it's not nothing for them to deceive and to lie. They actually think it's a good thing. So when it comes to our understanding, when it comes to our mind control, when it comes to us not being able to think outside of the box, it's scary. Because people actually think being under this particular mind control is good. And any real enlightenment, like real enlightenment, is bad. This is why there are hella celebrities, hella musicians. Now they're deep. And now you're following and now you're listening and now you're feeling like some confirmation. But you gotta understand, they're only doing that because you're interested in the conscious information. If you were interested, when you were interested in bumping and grinding, that's what they're doing. Now that you're opening up, they have to redirect your energy. So be wise and also follow yourself. follow your own soul. You have to understand that you are a walking miracle every moment you exist. Every moment you have consciousness, every moment you're able to zig, zag, and zig again, you're able to raise up. And these signs shall follow them that believe. In my name they shall cast out devils. In my name they shall cast out devils. So it is something when people are rushing up to you and absorbing your energy, being energy vampires. It's another thing when you take up your power and you don't allow that any longer, or people just walk out because they don't even want to handle the truth. Shall speak with new tongues through wisdom, knowledge, and understanding being a present thing. You must develop new words, period. Or else you're regurgitating, you're not advancing, and you're staying in the comfort zone. And that's for a lot of people. But when it comes to esoteric and raising yourself up or finding out these questions, you have to learn to think outside the box. They shall take up serpents, and if any of drink a deadly thing, it shall not hurt them. They shall lay hands on the sick, and they shall recover. So, tying up some loose ends, why people view Baphomet as a goat instead of the coat of arms, lineage, legacy, ancestry that people are still utilizing. You just not dealing with it because you think the right to bear arms is about guns. And it's really about goats. I wonder if there's a connection. That's a real question. I don't know. The scapegoat carries away all the iniquities of the children of Israel and loses them in the outer void. It's a vast variety to all human beings and all of their expressions. To be stereotyped in any certain type of way is a result of scapegoating. So people could view you in a certain type of way. And maybe it might not be you personally, but there's definitely people that experience the brunt of scapegoating, the brunt of, filling up particular jail cells so people can feel safe while the real criminals walk freely amongst them. Very interesting. We're referencing the Necronomicon because we can. It's also the study of black magic. Shub Niggurath is a actual character that H.P. Lovecraft created. In referencing all horror and comic horror stories, they reference H.P. Lovecraft. Even in The Watchmen, they have squid flying down from the sky, like a nod to H.P. Lovecraft and Cthulhu, which is represented as a squid. But here we're not talking about squids, we're talking about the black goat of the woods with 1,000 young. The black goat of the woods of the 1,000 young is a deity in the Cthulhu mythos of H.P. Lovecraft. You gotta understand, horror movies and all of these movies might be more racist than The Birth of a Nation because they're acting like this particular creature exists that can do all of these foul things and do all of these supernatural things and are out to get them and destroy them. But there's no such thing as these monsters that truly exist. But what do exist is people that get treated like creatures, people that get treated like monsters. So the magic and the witchcraft is happening right in your face, but you paying $10.99 or $17.99 and go watch it in your theater and do a review on it on YouTube. You don't realize how it's affecting people on an interdimensional plane because that's the level that they're dealing with this energy. They're not going to tell stories about the real wise story, the story of the wise ones. and paint them in their own true light. Nor should they. That should be our job. The first interpretation, and the most popular and widespread, is the god Baphomet, the goat-headed god of black magic. Black magic could be so named for voodoo and black African magic that came with African slaves from their homelands. Black magic is a popular, widespread concept in the supernatural and represents evil and malicious forces. It is the antithesis of white magic that is described as benevolent with godly. Black magic is the realm of Satan, figures, and demons, blacks, and their voodoo religion. White magic is the realm of rosy-cheeked white European cherubs and angels, white European Christianity, the positive, godly force, and the perpetual war with the probably genuinely felt and feared, the encroaching, evil, subversive, scheming, insidious, black horror of the savage. 21, 21, 21, who was always trying to undo the white magician's righteous path in war to spread their white light. Baphomet and the black goat are often associated with religion of Satanism and is interpreted by eternally fearful white Christians of America and Eastern Europe. The black goat is also curiously common in dreams. One more part. Also, it's called the Black Goat with 1,000 Young. You know how there's probably like one dude with like 8 kids in the neighborhood, and they try to make it seem like all dudes is like that. But we all know that one dude that just got like hella kids, and you like, damn, how you got all those kids? But that ain't everybody. But you know how stereotypes go. Yeah. So Shub Niggurath is literally Niggurath. So that these are powerful deities, right? That this might be Tyrone down the street, but you just don't see it that way. So finishing up, the left hand path and the right hand path. Basically, the right hand path, which is the right hand and the left hand path. So right hand on Baphomet. The right hand on Baphomet represents the, let me think. Yeah, so his right hand is pointing up. So this is the good hand. This is where everything is going up. You know, it's lit, it's turned up. You know, everything is going great. How was your day? My day was good. You know, I'm on the right hand path and I'm doing the right thing. And, you know, the left hand path is just something else. So the left hand path is often rejective societal convention in the status quo, which suggests a search for spiritual freedom. As part of this, left-hand path followers embrace magical techniques that would be traditionally viewed as taboo. For instance, using sex magic or embracing satanic imagery. Breaking taboos makes magic even more potent and can lead to the reintegration and liberation. For example, the eating of meat for a vegetarian might set some shit off. I ain't gonna say that part because I ain't. Sometimes you're not there. Like within the left hand path, you might is super left, and like I'm not gonna do all of. I'm not gonna go left. I'm gonna go like like a soft left, soft, angled left. I mean, kind of left. They often embrace sexuality and incorporate it into magical ritual. Okay, so if we were to simplify this whole thing, we're talking about magical ritual and sexual practice. Okay. Which ties into this right here. This is called Yabyum in ancient Vedic history. So just for a comparison's sake, so we're not really confused on this thing. We got this. And we got this. Sorry for the delay. And so we have this, the consort, where we have the goddess and the god, and they're consorting, and they're having tantric, where they're having a tantric section. They don't necessarily have to be making love, but they're in embrace. And this is like 5,000 at least years old. This is a tradition. Then you have this guy who probably soaked up some of that game and said, you know what would be cool if we just remove the other person and just made it one person and take that same energy of the tantric sex between, so we're speaking to the complete male and the complete woman and them raising up their God selves. And this is how we reach self-deification. And this is why church has this limit, because church keeps you out of the sexual realm. Like, not to say, you know, everybody in church is having sex, but nobody's talking about it. So there's a level of fakeness about it. Until you have a Christian church that's really honest about their sexual practices, then it's not going to really lead to real fulfillment. You know, you might have certain wins and certain losses, but this part, the element of, gotta be clear, the element of sexuality and incorporate it into magical ritual, this is the true self-deification. And so when you reference the melanated community, whether we getting married and we making love or we having sex, we're not really completely there on the tantra on the wide scale level, where we're able to discuss spirituality in its truest forms and allow each other space and spiritual development. We're still at the physical level where we're trying to see how much money, how sexy they are, and you know, if they gonna appease me. We're not there at the tantric level yet. So that's kind of what this conversation is, to open you up to that, get you in your zigzag zig bag. Okay. Peace to all the nations of gods, peace, nation of gods and earth, the 5%ers out there. Supreme Mathematics. Zigzag Zig describes the paths from knowledge to wisdom to understanding, and is a reminder that the path is not straightforward but cuts back and forth and pull the seeker's life with it. The Zigzag Zig is a symbolic of change and personal growth. However, as the final letter of the alphabet, it also connotes finality. Someone who has matured greatly between the beginning of their study and of the 120 and mastering it, it can maybe said to have zigzagged and zigzagged back to understanding the lessons. Okay? So this is where we at. This is just a preview for my Oya video. Presently, like, working on like 4 videos. I'm recovering notes. I really don't have no more energy to kind of get into this Black Madonna, so I'm gonna save it for the Oya video that's coming. That's gonna be more of a production. I appreciate everybody for vibing with me. Damn, I can't even say how much I appreciate y'all support. I don't even know if anybody was listening to me the whole time. I kind of was locked into this train of thought. So hopefully it made sense. I know I scared my girl's company away. So, you know, if I'm too weird, come keep my girl company. Everybody, don't be ready. I feel bad, man. But yeah, be sure to hit me up, www.hoodmystic.com, patreon.com/hoodmystic. Follow me on Instagram at the Hood Mystic. www.facebook.com/HoodMystic. Also donate. $HoodMystic38, paypal.me/TheHoodMystic. If this energy and if this actual information built or got or reached you in any type of way, I appreciate y'all vibing with me. I hope this made sense. And if it didn't make sense, keep learning, keep zigging, keep zagging, keep figuring it out. You understand? Watch a little bit of TV, deal with your energy, realize that you are the God that people are praying to. Past that, man, I don't got nothing more to say. I appreciate everybody for supporting. I hope I didn't piss everybody off. I hope I didn't piss too many people off, but if I did, I ain't did nothing but said the truth. So appreciate y'all. I will see y'all again on the flip though. Peace.